My name is Didem Sinnett Jr. I am biology teacher in Vefa High School, which is a very popular, very well-known school in Turkey. I am IB teacher actually. And recently I tried to do my thesis, and this is the subject of my master thesis. And my presentation is actually related with my thesis. And I try to make a research about the Master of Science, which is a very important aspect in IB. And I try to search about this in Turkish curriculum, and in the last 20 years. I actually teach in the IB curriculum, and I search about the Turkish ministry education system. So this is a little bit very long, but I try to make it very short. I know our time is so limited, so I'm trying to be a little bit fast because, like I said, that this is my master thesis and it's a little bit too long. So I'm gonna make it a little bit squish. The aim of the study is examine how and to what extent the dimensions of the nature of science and how it is integrated to the science textbook at 5th, 6th, 7th, and the 8th grade, which is the middle year in Turkey. Here is my research questions. I'm going to focus on the first one in this presentation, but I think I just share with you the most of the parts in this presentation, so you can, if you're really interested, so you can just see all of it. How has the nature of science been presented in science textbooks for the last 2 decades, which is 20 years, very long time. And to do that, I examined like 62 science textbooks, which is a very, very big data I had. I'm going to share this with you. Why this study is important? Because most of the studies are like in America, and most of them are like focus on the chemistry, biology, and the physics. And I focus on the science teaching, and most of them are it's like specifically one discipline, and I try to search about the science teaching. And in science teaching, you can just see the 3 of the subjects in the middle school level, which is like very much easier, like very soft, like that. I'm gonna pass this part, I'm gonna pass this part. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about just a little bit for what is nature of science and why I choose it, because like I said, that this is very important for me. We focus on the nature of science in IB. I taught in the Turkish curriculum in the past, like 6 years, and I'm teaching IB for 3 years, and I try to compare with them. So why it is very important, how when I started teach IB, so how my I just opened my vision so much, so why that impressed me so much. Because some people are saying to me like, okay, Didem, this is really boring subject, why you choose this for your thesis? Because of that, I wanted to explain this, why I choose natural science, because why it is important for me. And I'm going to talk about just a little bit for the approaches in teaching natural science, and very important related research. I'm going to talk about that in my thesis, like around 10, but I'm going to talk about just 4 in here, 2 from America and the 2 in Turkey related research. All right, so there are so many definitions in natural science, and people are saying a million things about natural science. In the Turkey and in the abroad, there is so many, because they just couldn't make a very common definition, because there is no proper definition of natural science. Because how scientists work, this is a subject of the nature of science. What science is actually nature of science, and in what ways society and the sciences relate, this is actually nature of science. Now, so it is really hard to make a definition of nature of science. So I'm gonna just I use the Abd-El-Khalick dimensions. There are 10 dimensions about the nature of science, and try to make rubric about this. I didn't do the rubric actually, so Abd-El-Khalick made the rubric, and I used that rubric. So I'm going to talk about just a little bit that too. So if you're looking at the approaches in nature of science, I'm going to talk about the explicit reflective approaches, implicit reflective approaches, and the historical approach. Sorry about this. Okay, explicit reflective approach. The nature of science is directly subjected. This is what we love, what we really like it, because it is directly saying what they wanted. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the results, but in Turkish curriculum, they are not saying directly. So I couldn't find so many explicit reflective approach. I just found most of the times implicit reflective approach and historical approach. So I'm going to talk about a little bit implicit reflective approach. This is not directly saying what they mean, and they are just adding in another section in a short way. It's like not in the direct subject, but it's like, okay, here is the fun part, read this part. So it's like directly saying, but it is like if you're reading a book, another section is talking about nature of science, which we are not teaching that part, which is like, we are, okay, this is not super important. If you want, you can read this. As a teacher, we are always doing it. So students are not focusing on this part, the like, okay, separate part, like another direction. So it's because of that, in the rubric, this implicit reflective approach have the less points. I'm going to talk about that later. Okay, historical approach, I love it actually, because I love the history of science and which scientist did something and how it changed. So this is the so much fun part for me. All right, so for the related research, like I said, that I'm going to talk about just 4 of them. So Abd-El-Khalick, which I really love, and I just so admire their work, and I just read that most of the times. So I just spent so much time on their research, because I think recently most of the scientists are just reading and redoing their job while they're doing the same kind of researches. Okay, so they just try to make rubric, and I just use their rubric as well. And there are just 10 sub-dimensions, which I just took them from them. And of course, I cited their job. And they just made a rubric and 10 sub-dimensions, like I said that. They just actually like give some score to them, okay? The high score is +3 and the lowest score is -3. And make all of this a score and try to find out like which science textbook is having the highest score. And they did it for 10 sub-dimensions. The same kind of research happened with the Chipetta and Filman. And I'm just going to make a summary all of it. So they just work, Abd-El-Khalick just work in America and for chemistry textbooks. And they did the same thing, like a similar thing in the biology textbooks. And Esmer just compared, this is in Turkey, and in England, they just compare the textbook from Turkey and the textbook from England, okay? And Akcay did a very interesting job, and they just, he actually examined the whole book, start from the Turkish Republic, which is 1923, and he tried to examine like 26, 24 textbooks and try to understand how it changed. And most of the researchers, all of them, couldn't find very good aspect, very good results about the nature of science. most of the books are not representing the nature of science very well in America, in Turkey, in everywhere. So the most of the researchers have the same conclusion, like, so these books are not very good about representing the nature of science. In biology, in chemistry, in science, it doesn't matter. So they're not just doing a very good job about representing the nature of science. All right, what about me? So how I work and what did I do? My study is document analysis, and that's the only thing. I'm gonna just do the document analysis. These books are like my data sources, which is, like I said, 62 books, starting from the 2000, and it will end with the 2020. In total, yes, 62, which is a lot. All of them are Ministry of Turkey just published them. The last year is 2020 is like private publishers did that. So what was my data collection tools and analysis? And I just I try to examine 10 subdimensions, which is empirical, inferential, tentative, creativity, social dimensions of science, theory-driven, and myth of the scientific methods, scientific theory, scientific law, and the social and cultural embeddedness of science, which I follow the same thing Abd-El-Khalick, and I just try to find it in the Turkish books. These are my examples. So like I said, that this is the rubric, and the high score is 3 points, and the least score is -3 points. And these are the example, like for example, this is the empiricals. There are 10 subdimensions, and this example is from like 10th grade textbooks, and this is the empirical subdimension. And this is from tentative, and the book is from 6th grade. This is the tentative, 5th grade, blah, blah, blah. You can just ask them like, okay, so you just see this and put this like, okay, so this is empirical and this is the 3 points, how you can give the 3 points, or why you didn't give this one, the negative, instead of -2 points, why didn't give it like 1 point? I follow the Abd-El-Khalick rubric if the how can I say, phrase, okay? So if it is implicit, directly expressed, and it is supported with the examples, and it is correctly explained, so that is 3 points. And in the 2 points, the relevant nature of science dimensions is scored for cases where the dimensions is clearly expressed in the book, but not adequately explained, and when one dimension is mentioned while the other related dimensions is neglected. So I follow all of this rubric from Abd-El-Khalick and try to score all of this textbooks. Here is my results. This is the 5th grade science textbooks, and here is the 10 dimensions, okay? And in total, for example, tentative take the 21, which is the highest score, and the social and cultural embeddedness of science has the highest score. And the myth of scientific method and the scientific theories didn't have any score at all. It is just a changing to subject. For example, for the 8th grade or 7th grade, so some theories in here, some theories are related with the subjects, so they have the higher score in the scientific theories or scientific laws. And in here, tentative has the highest score, which is like the first 5 ones, like empirical, inferential, creative, theory-driven, and the tentative. These 5 subdimensions have usually highest score if we just compare with the other subdimensions. So they are having the highest score, and the others are more related with the subject. So we cannot say that, okay, this is too bad because this doesn't have this super high score. So we cannot, I think it's not very correct to make a conclusion like this. Yeah. All right, so this is the this is the summary about the all textbooks, all the scores they have by years. So like 2005 grade. There's no 5th grade book. I couldn't find it, and I went to the ministry archive and they didn't have the book. So if I couldn't find any books, it's because I couldn't find in the archive. So yeah, so I couldn't grade them. Okay, so in a conclusion, like I said, that the first 5 dimensions, creative, tentative, inferential, they just have I can just see very clearly. And the other ones, like they're just I couldn't just find them very easily. So they just have the lowest score. But in generally, if you're speaking, so the result is the same. So it is not very good. They just the books are not just showing the nature of science very well. I can just tell that. And the results didn't change. So 62 books. And I just expect that recently, like close to 2020, so maybe the nature of science phrase will get higher, but it didn't do like this. So it is not like that. So I expect like, so when the Turkey and when the technology, everything is just developing, maybe nature of science will be more popular and in Turkey, in the world. So maybe it's just an increase, but it is not like that. Okay. All right, so that's it. So this is my presentation. I hope you like it.